Here's the card design that we're going to be using today then, and I'm going to show you how to make this particular design using several different techniques. It doesn't have to be for Father's Day, you could make it for a birthday or for Mother's Day or any other occasion, but I'm going to share with you a couple of different ways to make this particular design, and you can choose your own wording for it as well. So without any further ado, let's get started. Before we get started with this project, let's just run through everything that we are going to be using. There is going to be a shopping list up in the corner for you, so you can check that out as well, and all the links to everything used will be in the description box down below for you. So first of all, I'm going to go through the equipment that you're going to need. So you're going to need a Cricut machine. I'm using a Maker today. I have both of my fine point and my deep point blades. I am going to be using my deep point blade today because it's the one that I find to be most consistent, and it cuts really well for me every single time. So that's the one I'm using today. That is in the black casing, in case you are wondering. Then I've got a Cricut Brayer. I use this for every single project. It's the one piece of kit that I could not live without when I'm making things with my Cricut. This is invaluable for making sure that your material is stuck down well to your cutting mat, and that brings me onto my cutting mat. I'm using a standard grip mat today. It's quite well loved, so it's not as sticky as it should be, which leads me on to my masking tape. I'm going to be using this just to tape down the corners of my project, just to be sure that they are all stuck down really well. I'm going to be using photo paper for my project today. I haven't actually got a sheet of it out, but it is just basic white photo paper. It is the Koala branded one, and I am going to link that again, as I said, down below for you. I have a ruler and some glue. This is Collall all-purpose glue. I've just decanted it from the big bottle, which is the litre one that I buy, but I will link down below for you a couple of different size bottles that you could get. I then decant it into this just to make it easier to apply. I'm using a sheet of this lovely silver polka dot cardstock. This I'd say is about 210 GSM, not entirely sure of its actual GSM, but feeling it, that's what I'd say it is. Then I'm also using the 7-inch Craft UK Limited white cards and envelopes. They are pre-cut, pre-scored, ready to go. So much easier in my opinion than trying to make your own card and scoring it and cutting it and then having to get a big piece of paper to make an envelope and all that jazz. So these are what I'm going to be using today. I think I've listed everything that I've used, but if I think of something else halfway through, we'll just include that in the video, and you'll see that as you go through everything. So without any further ado, let's jump into making this project. So the first thing that we want to do then is create the base for our card. So what I'm going to do is come over to the shapes menu and just grab myself a basic square, and I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger. Now I am going to make it dead on 20 centimeters square, so that when I come to arrange my design and change the sizes for everything else, it's easier and we don't need to use a calculator for our measurements. So then I'm going to just change the colour of that to be white, because that's just easier to work with. You might notice that I have this purple background on my canvas, and if I'm working with white, I like to change that colouring. If you don't know how to do that, just come down here to where it says blank canvas, and if you just click on that, you'll notice that the menu across the top here has now changed, and you can go onto this little colour swatch block here, and you can pick out any colour off here, or you can go into advanced and you can pick out your own colour. So let's go into here and change it to this sort of aqua colour. There we go. So that makes it nice and easy to work with on the screen. Let's move these bits and bobs out of the way first of all. So we've got on this card this nice round text area that we've made, and this is going to be a print then cut on this particular card, just to make it nice and quick and simple to make. Now you could go into images and find something similar to this, but if you want to choose your own wording or write your own sentiment, then you're not going to be able to do that with a stock image from here. So what you want to do is just grab yourself a text box, and you want to type in whatever you like. So I'm going to type in Happy Father's Day to the best dad ever. exclamation mark. Now I'm going to leave it all on one line, and there's a reason I've left it all on one line rather than pressing enter, and that's because I'm going to make it into this circle. So in order to do that, you need to just make sure that your text is selected, and you can see that it is by looking at the layers panel on the right hand side of the screen here. It's already highlighted in the pale green. Then what you want to do is come up to where it says curve here, just click on that. Then you'll get this drag bar at the bottom, and you'll also have the 0 here. Now if you know what number it is that makes it go all the way around, you can type that in, but the easiest way to do it is just to grab this drag bar and just curl it all the way around. I'm going to just pull it up a little bit because I can't see it at the bottom. Let's go all the way around, leave a little bit of a space in between ever and happy, and that is our rounded text. So that looks fab. We can pop that onto there. You can see it's quite big, so what we're going to want to do is just make our circle a little bit bigger. Let's make it 22. That should be all good. Then what we want to do is put that into the center. So let's just select those two items, come up to align and click on center, and that's there now. Because I am going to be using this as a print then cut, I want to change the colour, so I'm going to click on that there, come up to the swatch box here, and then I can change that to be whatever colour I like. So I've been using blue on my other one, so I think I might use red on this one. And then what I'm going to do is go into images and find myself a picture of something that my dad likes, relating to dad. Let's see if we've got a dad barbecue. Perfect. Let's go for this one. I'm going to add that to the canvas, and then I can move that into the centre just there. Then what I can do is select all of that, and I'm going to come up to align, and I'm going to click on center, so everything is perfectly centered there, and I'm quite happy with that. What I'm going to do now, because I want this to turn into a print then cut rather than having all of these layers, I'm going to come down to the bottom and click on flatten. That is now into a print then cut, as you can see, and it is there ready on the layers panel as a print then cut. As you can see, we've got this little icon here, which is a warning icon. If we click on it, it does tell us that it's too big for what we want to do, so we can resize it ourselves, or we can get the computer to auto resize it. I will resize it myself when I've finished doing the design. So with this now, you can either make your own card like I have with this one here. So this card is quite a sizable one, actually. It's quite a decent size. You can either do that, or you can use a pre-cut, pre-scored one, which I think would be quite good for this. So what I'm going to do now is just get myself a small shape again. Let's go for another square, and we want to make that 22.5 centimeters a square. As you can see, it has come out grey. Let's change the colour to the paler silver, and then what we want to do is just send that to the back so it's behind this layer. And to do that, you just want to select it and go up to arrange and click on send to back, and that's there now. Next, what we can do is select both of those layers again, come up to align and center it, and that's going to give us a little outline around our design. I'm going to now resize. Let's take it down to be 14 centimeters, I think. These are the cards that I'm going to be using today then. They are 7 inches square, which works out to be 17 centimeters square. And this is the card, so it's pre-cut, pre-scored, so it's ready to go. All I need to do is make my design and pop it onto the front of the card. And it comes as well with a handy envelope, so I don't have to bother making an envelope. So it makes it a really nice, quick and easy project. So let's just jump back in Design Space now, and we're going to resize all our bits and pieces so it's ready to go onto the card. As I said then, my pre-cut, pre-scored card is 17 centimeters square. So what we can do first of all then is get another shape, another square, and just make that 17 centimeters, and then that's going to give us a template to work with for our 2 pieces that we've got here. So what I am going to do is leave that as the grey so it's easier to see against the white and the silver. So what I'm going to do then is just grab all of this, and I'm going to click on align again and center it and see how it comes out. You can see it's all gone to the back here. here because the grey square was the last thing to be added to the screen. So as I said before, you can either just select that particular layer and then go to arrange and send to the back, or another way of doing it is to come up here and you can drag it down there and that goes straight to the back. So it's a little bit small, there's quite a big border around that there. I'm going to just go to 100% zoom here for a moment, just because I want to be able to see the borders and all that sort of jazz. So I'm thinking what I might do is make that silver square a little bit bigger. That's the wrong silver square. I'm thinking what I might do is make that silver square there a little bit bigger so it comes up a little bit more onto that border. So let's go for, if that's 17, let's go for 15.5 and see what that comes out like. Let's just center that again. That's actually quite nice, I think. And then I've got some nice white spotty card that I think will look pretty good with that. So what we need to do now then is hide that template square because we don't need that, and then we can go through to make it. But because I've got my other project on the screen, what I need to do is hide all of that first. So let's just quickly do that. Okay. Right, another thing I was going to say to you as well is that this project will be available on my profile. So if you want to use this, please feel free to do so. If you don't know how to find a profile, we'll put a short video down below and above for you, so you can check that out. It's a really quick few minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minute video, which just explains how to find a profile in Design Space, so you can use all of my shared projects that are on there. I'm quite happy for you to use them. So let's go through to make right now. It's going to come up with 2 mats, which is what we're expecting. This is our first one then, so that's our print then cut, and then the second one is going to be our silver square, which is going to be our backing square. So first of all, what we want to do is print this. So let's go through to continue, and it's going to come up with this screen now where it's finding our machine firstly, and then you've got number 1, print on 21 by 29.7 centimeter A4. So what we want to do first of all is click on send to printer. Now it's really important that you get your settings correct on this page because you want to make sure you get the best print possible. So let's change first of all our printer. This is actually my label printer that it's selected. That must have been the printer that I've used last. So let's change it to be my inkjet printer, which is this Epson. Then I'm going to come down here to where it says use system dialog, and I am going to click on that. For this project, the bleed isn't really necessary because we don't have any outer colour around the outside of this design. If we did, we may want to have bleed on because then it's going to allow a little bit of leeway for the machine if the print then cut is out, but because we're all white on this one, it doesn't really matter. Now I'm going to click on print, and then I'm going to get another box come up. There it is. As you can see, it's shrunk a little bit since I have updated my iOS on here. So it's a little bit more difficult to see what we need to change now. If we scroll down, we're going to get printer options. If we click on that, it's going to drop down again, and we want print settings. Because we're using a different type of paper, we're not just going to use regular printer paper. I am going to use a glossy photo paper for my front. I'm going to come up to where it says media type and click on the little pink dots here, and I'm going to change it to be Epson Ultra Glossy. Now it's obviously that isn't what I'm using, but it is the nearest I'm going to get to shiny photo paper. Let's click on OK. Now I'm going to put my paper into my printer, and then I'm going to click on print, and that's going to come out in the best quality that my printer will offer, which is actually pretty good for a relatively cheap printer. Unfortunately, the 2711, which is the printer that I'm using, isn't available anymore, but I will link the next best one down below for you so you can check that out if you want to. So let me put my paper in and get everything printed, and then I'll come back and show you how we're going to put this project together. Here is my printout then, and it's really nice and shiny. It looks fab. The print quality is so good, and I'm really impressed with it, really, as I said, for such a cheap printer. So the next thing we need to do then is get this set up on the mat so that we can cut it out. So I have got a Cricut mat here. This one is pretty well used, but I've been resticking my mats recently with some basting spray, and I'm going to share that with you in a future video, so keep your eyes peeled for that. What I'm going to do is just pop my piece of paper in that top left corner. I am going to give it a really good bray down with my brayer, just to make sure that's really nicely adhered onto that mat. I may well add a very small amount of tape. Woo! Door shut. I may well add a very small amount of tape just to the four corners of this mat, just to ensure that we don't get any movement when it's cutting. I'm just going to stick that onto there and onto this corner also. So that is ready to go. Let's go back to Design Space now and pick our settings. So on the screen now, then you can see we have got to set our base material. So I am using photo paper, which is this setting here. I do have it bookmarked, which is what this little ribbon is here, the little green ribbon. That's indicative of the fact that I've bookmarked this material because I use it quite a lot. If you haven't got that bookmark on your screen and you need to find this one, what you'll need to do is just click on where it says browse all materials, and then you can come up to the top here and click on categories, and you can change that to be paper, which is this one here, and you'll be able to scroll through until you find it. There it is, photo paper. The alternative way of doing it, if you don't want to look through all the categories, is just click here and click in the box and type in photo paper, hit enter. There it is, it comes up. We can select it from here as well, so if we just click on it, get a little green arrow that comes up there, click on done, and now that is selected. As you can see, it says base material set to and then photo paper. I'm going to be using the deep point blade today just because that's the one that's actually already in my machine. I use it for cardstock and stuff like that all the time, so I'm going to leave my pressure at the default. Next, what we want to do then is pop the mat into the machine. So just use the plastic guides on the side of your machine. Hit the insert mat button, and then we are ready to go. So we're just going to press on the little flashing C. Now that the cut's finished, what we need to do is just double check that it has cut all the way through. And the best way to do this is just by lifting up your material from the corner and just peeling that back, and you can see that that cut is perfect on there. So now we are ready to take this out of the machine. So again, just hit that button with the arrows on it. There's our mat. Let's go back to the desk and get the second mat set up. This is the card that I'm going to be using for my intermediate layer, so I'm just going to pop that down on the mat there. Again, give it a really good bray down. Just make sure that that is nicely stuck. Now, of course, if you're just cutting a basic square shape, you could also cut it out by hand, or you could use a guillotine like this one here that I've got. This is one I use for smaller things. Because my size is going to be slightly over the size of this guillotine, it's going to be easier for me just to pop it into the Cricut. So that is on there nicely. I'm going to just pop a couple of bits of tape on those corners again, just to be sure there's no movement. Let's pop this into the machine and choose our material settings again, because we do need to change them from photo paper probably to poster board, I think, for this one. As you can see on the screen now, the machine has switched over to mat number 2. That one is the one that's highlighted, so we do need to check what our settings for our base material need to be. The cardstock that I'm using is pretty thick. I'm not entirely sure what the weight of it is, but I would suggest from experience that it's probably about 210 GSM. So I am going to go for the poster board setting. So let's click on that. And the same as before, I am using the deep point blade, not the fine point, because it's one that I know cuts really well with my machine. So I'm going to pop this in and cut it out. everything is cut out on the machine now then. So we've got our front layer with the barbecue that we've just designed together. Then we've got our spotty cardstock layer. And then we've got our card and envelope as well. So we can just pop that envelope to one side because we don't really need that right now. Then what we need to do is just arrange the design on the card. Now there's two different ways of doing this. You could either just glue it down flat like this, or if you wanted to give it a bit of depth, you could use some 3D foam pads. I think I'm just going to make this a flat card today. I don't really want to make it too involved, but if you want to do that, that is entirely up to you. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my glue. I'm using Collall all-purpose glue today. It is this one, which is upside down at the moment because this one's nearly empty. I'm just trying to get the last few bits out of it. It's in a precision tip bottle just to make it easier for when we're doing smaller projects. Everything I've used will be linked down below for you, so you can check it all out for yourselves if you do so wish. Let's just give this a quick wiggle of glue all the way around the outside. I love Collall because when you put it onto cardstock or paper, even if it's really thin, you don't get that like wiggle where you've put the glue. Normally with other wet glues you do see where that glue is, but with this stuff you just don't get that, and that's brilliant when you're using it on thinner cardstocks or papers as well. Just pop that onto there, just trying to be as accurate as I can really with the border being the same size all the way around because we want to make it as accurate as we can. Now you just need to check you've got your card the right way up because that would be annoying if we stuck it on the wrong way, but Dad would probably find it quite funny. Let's just pop this on here again with the glue. And this is such a quick and easy card to make. You could quite easily, if you'd forgotten, for instance, a birthday, make a card like this for a birthday for somebody within probably half an hour, and then you're ready to take it out to them in the afternoon. That is our finished card. It looks fabulous. I am happy with how it looks. We can also add ourselves a sentiment sheet inside, so just a piece of plain white printer paper would do. You could either do it as a print and then cut, so you could have a Happy Father's Day sentiment inside, or you could just leave it blank for your own message. That is entirely up to you. There will be a sentiment sheet on the project that is in Design Space. Again, if you wish to use that, please go ahead. There will also be both of the designs, so there's going to be the original one that's just got Dad in the center and then the words around the outside, and then there will also be this barbecue one. But please feel free to use these designs and change them to suit you and to suit the interests of yourself and your dad or whoever you are making this project for. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video and you found it to be useful. If you have, don't forget to subscribe. Drop me any questions or comments that you may have down below, and I will always try to answer where I can. I hope you have a fabulous week. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye!